Recording, and we'll get started. Good evening and welcome. I'm Gail Formanak, co-president of the League of Women Voters of the Villages Tri-County area, which covers Lake, Marion, and Sumter counties. I will serve as moderator of this Meet the Candidate Forum. My timekeeper and right hand tonight is co-president Bonnie Field. The League of Women Voters is a trusted, nonpartisan organization celebrating its 100th anniversary this year. While we never endorse a candidate, we are directly involved in shaping the important policy issues that keep our community and state strong. As League members, we have the opportunity to educate ourselves and others on local, state, and national issues. The League wants everyone to vote, so we actively encourage participation at the polls through voter registration and education efforts such as this forum, and through our voters guide, our online voters guide, vote411.org. In addition, our local league has a speakers bureau and offers education on topics such as the constitutional amendments, which will be appearing on the November ballot, and other topics such as the history of women's suffrage and separating fact from fiction in the news. I encourage you to visit our website at lwvtrifl.org to learn more about our work. We are happy to present our Meet the Candidates program. Under normal circumstances, we would book a room and invite the broader community to attend. With the current health crisis, we are forced to use this virtual format and are hoping all the technology pieces cooperate tonight. We would typically ask audience members to submit questions. However, that type of interaction didn't seem very manageable to us. League members were invited to submit questions in advance, and we hope that those asked tonight will cover the issues of concern to you. I would ask that all members watching this live via Zoom keep their video and microphones off during the duration of the meeting. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on our League's website in the near future. So let's get started. Each candidate will have an opening statement of up to 3 minutes explaining their qualifications and interest in holding this office. This will be followed by questions, with each candidate having the opportunity to respond for up to 90 seconds. We typically would determine the order by drawing a card or some other random method, but since that wasn't possible, we will use alphabetical order to begin and then rotate the order of who answers first. So beginning with opening statement, alphabetical order, our first candidate to speak tonight will be Craig Estep. Craig, 3 minutes.
I don't hear him.
Turn your mic on.
Yeah, I'm not hearing you, Craig. Oh, okay, wait a second. Maybe it's me. No?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
Thank you, Gail. And thank you for the opportunity to come here tonight in the forum with the League of Women Voters. It's a privilege to be here, and we thank you for the time and the efforts you're putting forth in this election. My name is Craig Estep, and I grew up in the Midwest and married my high school sweetheart and the love of my life 44 years ago. I adopted 10 children internationally with her, and we have 27 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild. I spent 3 years in the military in the United States Marine Corps, and then another 17 years in the Iowa Army National Guard, where I flew helicopters. I'm a retired state trooper. I've managed the State Emergency Operations Center. I performed emergency planning in the nuclear power industry. I've been the Director of Disaster Services for the San Antonio Regional Chapter of the American Red Cross. And I finished my working career as a base pilot supervisor flying emergency medical services helicopters. I also volunteered in the community and throughout the county, doing helping hands, delivering durable medical equipment to people. I've been a neighborhood representative, and I also volunteer at the Coleman Prison in Sumter County to visit prisoners. I've also volunteered with the Civil Air Patrol and Operation Christmas Child. I've been, managerially speaking, a board chair for a 501c3 organization. I've developed a curriculum for the Emergency Management Institute in Emmitsburg, Maryland on the Emergency Management Assistance Compact. And then I responded to New York during 9/11 to implement that EMAC program. I'm currently a Community Development District 1 supervisor in the villages, pardon me. One thing that made me run and want to be a supervisor or a commissioner in Sumter County was the tax meetings last year. I felt that the citizens were treated with very little respect and were not given dignity when they talked. That troubled me greatly. The other issue is the incumbents are running as conservatives, but they did raise the millage rate 25.5% last year, which increased our taxes that much on the Sumter County tax line in the ad valorem taxes. So with those two things raging in the county, I felt it was important that I should step in and throw my hat in the ring to step up and help the people in Sumter County, as I've been able to do in Community Development District 1. And I look forward to that opportunity. My name is Craig Estep. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up will be Orrin Miller. Orrin, it looks like you need to unmute. Okay, are you good? Go ahead.
Good.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. My name is Orrin Miller. I'm running for Sumter County Commissioner for District 5. Previous to retirement, I was employed by Caterpillar for 40 years as a facility logistics manager in Joliet, Illinois. In addition to that, my wife and I started, created, and operated a successful tax business for 35 years. My lovely bride, Angie Fox, and I have been married for 33 years, are very proud of our 4 children and our 3 grandchildren. When we decided to retire, we came down to the villages and moved into Sanibel. We've been here for 9 years now. When we moved into Sanibel, I noticed we didn't have AEDs in our neighborhood. I became the AED coordinator for our neighborhood, put a team of 20 people together, and installed 5 AEDs within 3 months. My wife and I also, 5 years ago, founded Lost Pets of the Villages. Our great team of people have returned over 1,700 pets to their owners in the last 5 years. I was the village's deputy commander for CERT, the Community Emergency Response Team, until I decided to run for commissioner. I had to step down from that position. I didn't have time to do both. When Irma came through, I supervised the first aid area in the rec center that was set up at the last minute, and we watched 150 people for 2.5 days. Even when the lights went out and the water went out, we still did a great job of getting that done. The reason I want to run for commissioner is we need to roll back that latest tax increase. That was irresponsible and reckless on the point of the present commissioners. Residents should never be responsible for paying for new roads in new developments. What should have happened is impact fees should have been raised. Sumter County paid $65,000 last year to study the road impact fees and then set the rate at 40% of what they should be. Every county around us has impact fees for schools, education, police, fire, EMS, government buildings, parks and recreation. Sumter County has none of that, and we should. Again, the residents should not be paying for infrastructure for new developments. Our plan, when we're elected, is to support Sumter County law enforcement and fire services. We want to create a no-kill animal shelter in Sumter County. Our animal control down there is out of control. We need to take charge of that. We need to bring honest, loyal commissioners back. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Dan Myslakowski. Dan?
Thank you, Gail, and the League of Women's Voters for having this forum tonight. I am Daniel Myslakowski. I am running for Sumter County Commissioner to represent all citizens, we the people. I will bring real reform, real change to the current Sumter County government's taxation without representation policies. I will vote to roll back the 25% tax increase of 6.7% to the original 5.3% and vote to pay for this by correctly, fairly increasing the impact fee on the developer where this expense was legislated to be. Go back to the sensible incremental growth approach and get away from the recent surge growth approach and take a more pragmatic planned growth approach that balances growth to the existing area resources, infrastructure, such as water without rationing, waste handling facilities, hospitals, healthcare, law enforcement, recreational facilities, etc. A common sense proven approach is to rank and prioritize community needs to the $252 million Sumter County budget. Do what the majority of Sumter County residents want, not what an individual profiteer wants. As an elected county commissioner from Michigan, I have firsthand experience of all the duties and responsibilities of this most important governmental position, which provides quality, vital county services to our community. The only experience I do not have is the experience of voting to raise the county tax rate. I do have the experience of voting against an unnecessary special interest tax increase. Additionally, I have a master's degree in public administration, bachelor's degree in business administration, and over 30 plus years in successfully managing multi-million-dollar budgets and projects in both the public and private sectors. I was an IT project manager at General Motors for over 30 years. I am a proud member of the Republican National Committee, a right to life candidate, a strong supporter of Second Amendment rights, and a true fiscal conservative. I am a staunch supporter of our Republican President Donald Trump and his tax cutting policies, immigration positions, and strong conservative backing. Our Constitution states that the Sumter County Commissioners are elected to be the voice to represent we the people in our local government, and that is what I pledge, swear I will do, so help me God. I will always be accessible and listen to the people and serve with honor and integrity to work hard to bring and implement solutions which will best serve the people of Sumter County. I'm endorsed by the Personhood Florida Pro-Life PAC and the Sumter Realtors Association. This August 18th, vote to axe the 25% tax. Vote Republican, Dan Myslakowski, County Commissioner, District 5. Thank you again, Gail.
Thank you. And lastly, for an opening statement, Gary Search.
Hi, again, thank you, Gail and Bonnie and the League of Women Voters for having me here tonight. And you're a fantastic organization. Having spoken to many League of Women Voter organizations back in Pennsylvania, I just know what a fantastic organization you are. Again, my name is Gary Search. I'm running for Sumter County Commissioner in District 1. And the reason I was motivated to run is I went to a number of meetings and then went to the budget hearing meetings, and I never saw public treated with such disrespect and lack of dignity. Having been a commissioner in Pennsylvania, serving 3.5 terms, I always looked at the public as myself as a public servant first, and looked at the public with so much respect and dignity and wanted to hear what they had to say. I come from a background of education. I spent 35 years in education, 30 of those years as a school counselor. Also spent 20 years as a coach of both wrestling, girls softball, and baseball. And I learned the ability to teach teamwork along with bringing out the best in each individual. I also was a grief counselor. I went into schools that were devastated by tragedies. I learned how to deal with the community and have the sympathy to work with people during a very difficult time. I also was a crisis prevention intervention trainer, and that's a program where you teach people, not only educators, but also police forces, on how to diffuse potentially dangerous situations, either verbally or physically. I also am very active in ministries in church. I'm currently the chair of the governing body of New Covenant United Methodist Church. I'm the former chair of Helping Hands in the Bargains and Blessing Ministry, where we have built 24 or 30 total homes. I've been involved in 24 homes outside of the village area, Wildwood and Oxford area. I want to be a public servant to the people here in Sumter County, all of Sumter County, because I believe everybody needs to be treated fairly, with respect, with dignity. And the major thing, as you've heard before, is the 25.5% tax increase just did not take into account financial planning, comprehensive planning, and fiscal responsibility. I'm a conservative. I've never had tax increases when I was a commissioner in Pennsylvania, and it won't happen here with good planning. Thank you again. My name is Gary Search. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we're going to shift to questions that we're going to ask our candidates to respond to. Bonnie's going to change her timer to a minute 30 seconds. You all have 90 seconds to respond to these questions. So the first question, it's going to Orrin Miller, will be up first. Orrin, please address this question. What are the most important challenges facing our county, and how do you propose to address these challenges?
I feel the most important challenges we have right now is the 25% tax increase. That needs to be rolled back. We need to implement impact fees that are just and fair, so the voters of Sumter County are not paying for the new developments and the developer is paying for the new developments. The other thing is we need to straighten out the animal shelter in Sumter County. We're the only animal shelter in Florida that doesn't allow visitors, that doesn't allow people to come in and look around to see what's going on. We need to fix that. I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Next up then will be Dan Myslakowski. Dan, I think you're muted, so if you could unmute.
Okay,
There we go.
it just came up. I would also agree that the 25% tax increase was just unforgivable. I'd never even heard of a 25% tax increase, let alone implement one. That's by Florida statute, that should have gone on the impact fees. It clearly stated where that new development growth should have gone, south of 44. All those new roads should have been paid through the impact fee, which the developer then recoups through when he sells his homes, then he recoups that fee. The county also deals with a $252 million budget that covers the health department, the mental health department. Right now, we have a great need for the health department and mental health department with the COVID-19. I feel we should have, like Lake County and Marion County, we should be providing, the county commissioners should be out there with the health department, answering questions every week, doing a live format. Additionally, we cover the sheriff's department. You have the school resource officers that right now we need to be going after funds that are federal grants out there. Right now, there's several budgets covering these school resource officers, and that should be under the school budget time to close. So I also want to listen to the people and work with the people, and again, implement what's best for the community. Thank you, Gail.
Okay, Gary Search. Most important challenges facing the county and how you would address them.
Well, right now, what I hear from the public is such lack of trust of the Sumter County Commissioners and their local government. And in talking to people, they just feel that there's no accountability, there's no transparency, and there's nobody there really listening to them. And as a public servant, I've always considered the office to be. I want to be there and lift up Sumter County government again, so people understand that it's a respectable place where they can come, talk, get questions answered. We've talked about the 25.5% tax increase, and again, that is just something that should not happen from conservative Republicans. And I look at different ways, and as Dan has mentioned, the infrastructure fees, if set correctly, and if the comprehensive plan is laid out correctly, and there's good financial budgeting, tax increases like that won't happen. We've got to show the people that we mean what we say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And lastly on this question, Craig Estep.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you. I agree with everyone else. The 25.5% tax increase is a biggie, but it's really a symptom of a failure from 2015. It was a lack of foresight. When they knew in 2015 that they were going to build south of 44, they needed to take actions then. They waited too long to execute what they needed at the time. And people can understand that if there are issues that are coming up, they need to be addressed. And I would reach out and look forward and address those issues. Additionally, I just cannot sit there in a meeting, in a public meeting, and watch a person pour their hearts out, telling the commissioners that they absolutely cannot afford this tax increase, and they have to sell inherited land that their mother left them to be able to pay taxes in the future years. To leave people at the podium with a lack of dignity and a lack of respect, it's just not acceptable. So I'm going to bring dignity back to the and reachability to the commissioner's office where people can talk to me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, new question, and the first person to answer it will be Mr. Myslakowski. You've all somehow addressed this already, but do you believe in preserving the right of the public to testify at commission meetings, public meetings, and workshops? Explain your position and the impact such public input would have upon your decisions. So again, Mr. Myslakowski first.
Thank you, Gail. Absolutely, I believe that the public is taking their timing. First of all, we're elected to be representatives of the people. There's 4 levels of government. There's the local level, the city and the townships. There's the county level, the regional level. There's the state level and the federal level. So each level of government should have the responsibility of listening to the people, let people come to the meeting and voice their opinions. And they've chosen us to be their leaders. And so we take in all this input, all this, all the concerns of the people, and we try to make a formulated decision from that. And I think it is important to hear from the people. What I saw at the 3 tax meetings at Colony and then at the other center was people talked for 3 hours. Over hundreds of people talked, and in the end, no one listened. They slammed the gavel down and said that tax increase passed, even though 99% of the people said they didn't want it. That's not listening to the people. That's not responsible government. That should have been capital budgeted years ago, capital budgets 10, 15 years. So again, we're here to listen to the people. The people running now, I think, are running on that format to be able to take input from our Sumter County residents. Thank you.
Okay. Next to address that question of the public testifying, Mr. Search.
Thank you, Gail. First of all, when you're elected not to be a politician, you're elected to be a public servant. And part of being a public servant is listening to the public, listening to the people. I never had time limits. I was president of our local commissioners in Pennsylvania in our township. I never put a time limit on that because I respected people to come to me and be heard and also receive answers from the commissioners. Not only should you be heard, but you should also receive answers. And where people coming to meetings, if they have the interest of being there, they should be heard, listened to, respected, and treated with dignity. So I would love people to come to the meetings. I encourage people to come to meetings and provide their input, not only on developments, but on the tax bases, on the budgets, on the comprehensive plans, and everything that we were discussing. It was totally transparent and open to the public. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And Mr. Estep.
Yes, thank you. Very critical to include all of the people in the county that want to have a voice. That's one of the biggest things that I am running on, is giving the people a voice. And to give the people a voice, you have to have active listening. You need to listen to what they say. We have a lot of people and a lot of expertise in this county. And when they bring it to a meeting, we would be wise to listen to what they have to say. Weigh everything, look at it and see what it is that they're bringing to the table, and then see if we can incorporate it in part of the collaborative process to put together whatever it is we're doing. We are not kings, as Gary has said. We are public servants. We are not dictators in the commission, and it should never be that way. While we're talking about people coming and being able to come and deliver what they want to share with us, if that means we have to meet at 7 o'clock because people work till 5 o'clock, then we need to move the meeting so it's convenient for the people. And we need to adapt and overcome those hurdles that we see that are impeding our citizens from coming in and sharing with their commissioners. The other thing that I think is important is when somebody wants to talk to a commissioner, they need to talk to the commissioner. Thank you.
Okay. And lastly, Mr. Miller.
I agree with Craig. We need to move all of the meetings to 7 o'clock at night to make it easier for the people to get to the meetings. They need to be able to come and talk to us and tell us what the issues are. We also need to be able to set up quarterly meetings with the people that are nothing more than, what do you people want us to work on? We're only commissioners to represent the people of the county. What do you want? What do you need? Talk to me. What do you want me to work on? Here's what I'm working on. Let's get an agreement on what we need to be working on, because we're being paid by them to represent them. We owe it to them to listen to them. Right now, the attendance at most of the BOCC meetings is dismal because people know they won't be heard, they can't be heard, and if they do speak out, it'll go into deaf ears. We need to represent the people, listen to people, and make it convenient for them to talk to us. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next question. You all referenced the property tax increase of last year. So what type of fiscal management would you support to prevent the need for such large increases in the future? Mr. Search, you're up first.
Well, as what's been discussed, if you have a good comprehensive plan, a good financial planning, you're not just looking at this every year. You have a long range plan, and you can see what developments coming before you, what economic situations are coming in front of you, and that's how you plan forward. That's called fiscal responsibility. And when you have a tax increase like that was just put forward, that just shows the lack of planning there. So as a commissioner, and again, as a public servant, you're responsible for the tax dollars of the people, and also looking at good economic and developmental growth. Well, you do that, as was mentioned before, through impact fees. If the impact fees are correct, the infrastructure, total infrastructure, not just roads, but the total infrastructure is paid for by the developer, and then he can pass that on to the costs of homes, and it never impacts residents. Residents should never be impacted by developer growth. You want good economical and development growth, but it needs to be responsible, and you do that through great and infrastructure settings. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Estep, you're up next on this.
Yes, thank you. Really a great question. I touched on it earlier. I mentioned the foresight to look forward in 2015, for example, when they saw that there was going to be a need. You don't wait 4 years to do something about it. You have to have the foresight in part of that planning that Gary's talking about, and a good comprehensive plan, and all those things that are rolled into the management process within the commission and the operations of county government. You have to be able to look forward, not just in the fiscal sense, but in every sense of the county. It has to be covered in every department you have. Everybody has to be looking forward. It's an attitude and how everybody operates within each department, and then even down into the subsectors inside those departments, so that when everything comes together in the budget year, you know what you can see for the next 5 years. It takes some planning, it takes some work, and it takes some effort to do that, but it can be done. And we need to have good economic development to continue to support the growth and to continue to support businesses and people working in those businesses, to bring those multiplication factors into the county so that we can have a strong economic baseline for Sumter County. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Miller, you're up next on this.
As we've said before, and it's been said before me here, we need a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan, and a 10-year plan. There should never be a variance of more than 1% or 1.5% in your 1-year plan. There's no major surprises. They've known about this for 5 or 10 years. This shouldn't have been dropped on the people. The impact fees should have done what the tax increase was put in place for. County commissioners need to be fiscally responsible for the people they represent in the county. They need to own that. They can't just drop a 25% increase in the people and say, oops, we made a mistake. Sorry, pick up the tab. Doesn't work like that. You need to successfully plan for those events ahead of time with the impact fees being raised. Setting the impact fees from 40% of what it was suggested rate was irresponsible. That rate should be at least 100% of what was suggested. That's what's got to be fixed first. Thank you much.
Okay. And last on this one, Mr. Myslakowski.
Thank you, Gail. I worked at General Motors for over 30 years and did budgeting for projects, and was also accounts payable manager. You have annual budgeting. That's one form of budgeting. And you have a monthly forecast versus actual. And at General Motors, we had to explain a 3% variance, either plus or minus. So you had to explain, you had to budget properly and explain if you were 3% off, plus or minus. Then you have a capital budget, which is your long-term infrastructure type projects, building projects. And that goes from anywhere from 5, 10 to 15 years. And you put money aside and save money. In Florida, Florida has 67 counties. The average impact fee in Florida is $9,865. In the villages, the over 55 community is only paying $902. That's a tremendous gift to the developer. I calculate that they said that they needed $100 million to build a new infrastructure south of 44. So if they're building 50,000 homes, times raise that price $2,000 to $902 to $2,902, that would give you your $100 million. We're already paying for our infrastructure in the form of our bonds, which I pay $1,650 a year for my infrastructure. Now I'm also paying for the infrastructure south of 44, which that should not be paid for by the taxpayers. It should be paid for by the impact fee. Thank you.
Okay. New question. As the county continues to urbanize, how would you balance the sometimes competing interests of rural residents with those of residential developers? Mr. Estep, you're up first on that.
Thank you. That's a really good question, and I've been traveling the county since I declared in December to visit with the different city councils and to attend their meetings and get the feel for those folks out in the rural part of the county. Fantastic people, and they definitely have concerns with the urbanization and the growth that's going on. As a county commissioner, we would have input on the growth that happens inside the county. With the growth that's going on inside the cities, of course, that's controlled by the cities. So like, for example, the villages development, the majority of that is going to be done within the city of Wildwood. And the special magistrate will be making the rulings on those types of calls within the city of Wildwood, which is annexing all the time, larger and larger portions of rural Sumter County. So we would have to be careful to make sure that we query folks when development is going to happen. We need to make sure that it's responsible growth. We need to make sure that it's not going to be harmful to those area residents that live in the area, but helpful. And that's what we'd have to do as county commissioners.
Okay. Next on that will be Mr. Miller.
We need to look at what's going on with the people of South Sumter County. They've been ignored for the last 10 years. Millions of dollars have gone into road repairs in the villages. Almost no money has gone on to repairs for roads in South Sumter County. Those people are paying the same kind of taxes we are, and they deserve to get some of their tax money back for repairs they need. We've got school buses driving on roads down in Webster and Bushnell that are decrepit. The school bus drivers are saying they're unsafe. We need to repair roads in order of safety, in order of need, not in order of where they happen to sit in the county. We've got to make this county work for all the people in Sumter County, not just the people in the villages. It's got to work for all the citizens. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Myslakowski, you're up.
Responsible growth is doing your impact studies. Are we growing so fast that we don't have enough water, that we have water shortages? Are we growing so fast that we don't have the passive parks that we want? If I wanted a very urban, dense area, I would have moved to Orlando or to Tampa. When I moved here in the villages, they told us that they were not going to grow south of 44. So as the county commissioner, I think it's important to look at studies to plan for parks to be in areas, to plan for growth that the people want. We don't want to overly urbanite this and have it so congested that it takes you an hour just to go 10, 15 miles. So I've been down in Webster and I've been down in Bushnell when I tore my Achilles tendon. I was a Hurricane Irma responder, and I worked in those townships, and they were very unhappy. They thought the county was growing too fast, that the county was only doing everything for the villages, and they were being ignored. And I have to agree. Again, we need to balance that so that everybody gets needs taken care of. We need to prioritize that $252 million budget and plan and use it properly for all the residents of Sumter County. Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Search.
Well, back to urban and rural growth is always a big concern. And I go back to, if you have a 5 and 10 year plan and you have a good comprehensive plan that needs to be reviewed actually every year, you can look at where the growth is going to take place, where land is going to be set aside for park recreation, and how you keep your rural areas rural. And you don't continually rezone land and turn away from your comprehensive plan. The South Sumter area is a beautiful, diverse area, and it's a beautiful rural area. And talking to the people in South Sumter, they want to keep it as farmland and horse farms and things like that. And we need to preserve that. As county commissioners, our job again is to develop that comprehensive plan so there's solid economic and business growth, but we also preserve the rural areas. And you can do that through great and long-range planning. Thank you.
Okay. New question. What kind of incentives should the county be willing to provide to attract new business and industry to our area? First up on this question is Mr. Miller.
The county needs to look at what kind of businesses is bringing into the county and then decide what value that's going to bring to the county in jobs. We need to bring better paying jobs with benefits into this county. And then the incentives should be commensurate with the kind of jobs, the amount of jobs, the value those jobs are going to bring in. We've also got to bring in affordable housing for the people in Sumter County that are going to work in those jobs. So it's got to be a multifaceted goal to set proper incentives for those businesses. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Myslakowski.
Thank you, Gail. Currently, as the villages grows, most of our businesses right now are restaurants, and you have your workers not making minimum wage or tips and that type of thing. We do need to incentivize to bring manufacturing jobs here, defense jobs, manufacturing jobs that can do electric metering boxes and different types of manufacturing. But again, our tax incentives need to be looked at, and we need to plan this growth. And we want to know what we want to bring in this community and set off a certain area, like an industrial park or something like that. So again, that's all part of the comprehensive plan that you, with your residential growth and your commercial park growth. So we would make it competitive if we gave tax breaks to bring specific businesses that we want here in Sumter County. That would raise the cost of living for the people that are younger than the retired people. And also we need to make affordable housing. Right now, many of the restaurant workers cannot afford to live in the villages, and they're therefore just stuck to rent, and they should be able to raise their families here in the community as we do also. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Search.
Hi, again, thank you, Gail. To have businesses want to come to an area, there has to be some types of incentives. And one of the biggest ones for families is, do you have quality schools? Because most people don't want to move into an area where there's not quality education. So not only providing the incentives for businesses to be here, but you also have to work connectively with your school system to provide a good quality educational system that brings families and want people to move into the county and move into the area. So I see that connection between both education and incentives for businesses to be here and want to grow in this area. Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Estep.
Yes, thank you. You know, we've had a lot of good economic development, expansion, and things going on with, you know, in manufacturing and our agribusiness, and also in our commercial areas within the county for expansion. But I agree with the others that there need to be some incentives that are appropriate for what's coming in for the business. And I also agree with what Oren said with regard to affordable housing. You know, the State Housing Initiatives Partnership and the Local Housing Assistance Plan tied in with the state apartment and incentive loans and things like that. That all has to come together. You know, the county commissioners currently approve one. This fall, they're looking to approve one for like $10,000. Why can't we do more than that for affordable housing to bring it more to light for the people that are going to work here? As we continue to expand and grow, the jobs will continue to grow as well, and we need to attract lucrative businesses that are going to be utilized with the infrastructure that we have in place to be able to ship and receive their products in and out of the area in a very efficient way. Thank you.
Okay, so new question. What do you believe are the priorities in building and maintaining the necessary road infrastructure in our county? Mr. Myslakowski, you're up first.
Well, we know what not to do. We've experienced it with a 25% tax increase. Again, as several of my colleagues have already mentioned, and I have mentioned, you need to have a capital plan. You need to plan this out, a forward-looking plan. Where are you going to put the roads? Where is it most needed? One of my pet peeves is they just restructured or resurfaced Buena Vista and Morse Boulevard. There was really no need to do that because what happened is there's no construction routes. They had 40-ton trucks, 50-ton trucks driving with blocks and big gravel trucks driving on the roads and tore them up. And then they had to spend $40 million to repair them. Simply could have put a weight restrictions on there. In Michigan, we had weight restrictions on roads. We had construction routes. Why tear up the developed areas, the roads that are already developed and the houses are already built? Why are these trucks tearing up our roads? So again, a comprehensive plan. Where do we want to put the roads? What is going to be needed? Is it going to be a 2-lane road for a residential area? Is it going to be a highway that needs to be for manufacturing or for agribusiness, that type of thing? So again, it's all in the plan. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Search.
Thank you. Again, it goes back to short and long-term planning. Every year when I was a commissioner in Pennsylvania, we sat down with our Public Works Department, looked at what roads were in need of repair. We looked at development, what new roads were going to be needed, and what was the developer going to put in terms of those roads, in terms of turning lanes, in terms of increasing them from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. Again, that all comes back to being and having a great plan that you can look down the road and you don't get hit with surprises. It's all worked out, it's mapped out, it's planned out, and that goes back to fiscal responsibility and long-range planning. And with that, you can then look at the new roadways that have to go in or what roads have to be improved. And I agree with Mr. Miller, and I've been down to South Sumter. The roads down there haven't been touched at all, and we need to really look at increasing that roadway system there. Again, thank you so much for the question.
Okay, Mr. Estep, on the topic of roads.
I couldn't agree more that all of the roads need to be looked at, and they need to be looked at frequently. You know, they do traffic counts on many of the roads every year to see what the traffic count is. And they take that information based upon the wear and tear of the roads and what it's going to take to have to do resurfacing. That's a piece of it, but it's only a piece of it. The planning is important, as Gary's pointed out as well. You need to make sure that you look at every facet of the road construction, which leads me to Do we have engineers looking at the road bed and approving them at each step of the way? States I've lived in, every piece of that road that's laid down is inspected by an independent inspector. And it is an inspector that is hired by the governmental agency to go out and ensure that it's being done properly. We don't want to put 3 inches of aggregate down and have 80,000 pound trucks or 50, 60,000 pound trucks tearing them up so that we have to rebuild them in another year or two. So responsibility goes back to responsibility, planning, and making sure that the right thing is done for the citizens of all of the county. Thank you.
Okay, and Mr. Miller.
I agree with what the guys have already said, but I'm going to add one more fact in there. All the roads in Sumter County need to be rated for their wear and tear, what kind of shape they're in, and the safety value. We need to look at every road that has a safety problem. A lot of accidents are where there deaths or fatalities in those roads because of the roads. So we need to rate them by safety first. The most unsafe roads need to be repaired quickly. Then we need to look at the roads that are in the worst condition. Those need to be repaired next. And every road should be rated. All of it should be fixed in order. And there should be a 1-year, 5-year, and 10-year plan to fix all of those roads, not just a few of them. Thank you.
Okay. New question. A few of you already addressed it peripherally. What action would you take to ensure there is sufficient affordable housing in our county? Mr. Search is first.
Well, yeah, as we touched on it before, that's built into your comprehensive plan. You've got to have areas where there's affordable housing. As I talked in my opening, I've been part of a ministry that chooses deserving families and have been building homes outside of the village area. And we've put 30 new families into homes. And those families are all involved in working within this community. In fact, one of the young ladies that got a home not only received her education degree and taught in the wild school system and is now working in Ocala teaching, she also received a real estate license during this time. She also went back to school to get her paralegal degree, and she's also now going to school to get her law degree. The affordable housing allows people to increase their education, to get their dignity back, to get respect back into their family, and show the family through education that affordable housing allows those job opportunities to happen. So we need to do that. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Eston.
Yes, I touched on this earlier, you're right. And I talked about the affordable housing piece, but it's not just affordable housing, it's housing that can be afforded. So if you look at a house in Sumter County, for example, I don't know what the average is, but construction-wise, generally speaking, you can build a house for between $85 and $115 or so per square foot. And so I wonder if we couldn't come up with a program and collaborate with all of the developers, because there's more than one in the county, by the way, with all the developers in the county. Can we have maybe an opportunity where we can take, if you're going to build 100 houses at a higher level of cost per square foot, would you be willing to build one at 100-to-1 ratio in another area that's maybe going to run $100,000 to $120,000 so people can afford to live in it? That's a single structure. That's a thought. I'm not sure if it can be done or not. I'm not sure if they would want to extend themselves in that way, but we need to think outside the box for affordable housing. We need to reach out to the people, see their needs, and then we need to try and meet their needs. That's what we need to do. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Miller.
I've already talked on it also. One of the things in Sumter County is they've privatized more jobs in Sumter County than any other county in Florida, which means we've taken away good paying jobs with benefits. So we need to support that with affordable housing. We need to make the good moral decision, may not be the best financial decision, but a good moral decision to provide safe, affordable housing for the people that are going to be expected to work here, for the restaurants, for the businesses, for all the areas in Sumter County. We've got to make that happen. It's the right moral thing to do. Thank you.
And lastly, on housing, Mr. Myslakowski.
Thank you, Gail. That was one of the questions that came out a month ago, but I thought I answered it very well, so I'll read it. There are a lot of hospitality workers serving an over 125,000 population in the villages and surrounding areas. As part of the community's master plan, affordable housing needs to be incorporated into that plan so the many workers supporting the village's community can have an affordable place to live and raise their families in our community. This plan must also work with state and federal government agencies to take full advantage of grant monies to get the most bang for our taxpayers' dollar. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next question is about county services. So a good portion of the budget is for the services, things like libraries, things like health services. What would be your priorities for funding the services that the county provides? Mr. Estep is first.
Yes, those services are critical, the services that we provide to the citizens, because it gives them the opportunity to operate freely within the county and do the things they want to do, go to the library, recreate, do those kinds of things, the parks. We need to make sure that we listen. The other night I was talking with a citizen, and they said, you know, you have 100 swimming pools in the villages, and the only one we have is at the school in the rest of the county. Well, that's something we need to look at. We need to listen when the people have something to say. We need to apply that information to the services that we have available, and then we need to see if we can equitably provide that service. If we cannot equitably provide that service, we need to give a good explanation why we can't provide that service. Now, every service isn't going to be available, but those services we have, we need to run them efficiently and effectively to make sure that they get to everybody in the county. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Miller.
We need to make sure the people that need the services have the services. The last 5 months have been very trying. We don't see this COVID thing going away for another 3 months, 6 months, a year. I don't think we have that answer right now. We need to make sure we have testing available for all the residents in Sumter County. We need to make sure that testing is done in a timely manner for all the residents in Sumter County. We need to support the people who are about to be evicted from their homes, people who are behind on their payments, and make sure they get the support they need so they can stay here and stay comfortable in Sumter County. We've got to step up the pace with our commissioners. Commissioners in Lake County and Marion County are providing weekly updates to their people, live feed on what's going on with COVID, where the testing facilities are, and what's going on. We're not doing that in Sumter County, and we should be doing that in Sumter County. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Myslakowski.
Thank you, Gail. Having budgeted for over 30 years, we have a funny thing called zero-based budgeting.
Yeah.
What that does is it takes a look at every department, every person, every service, and you build the budget. In our case, it's currently $252 million a year. But you're basically going to each department and say, explain to me what we need, what you're doing with this money, and how efficiently are you using it. And just to give the people an overview, the county, again, is a regional government. You got the health department, the mental health department. You got the clerk's office, which takes care of birth certificates, death certificates, marriage certificates, and that's a biggie in the villages, I hear, marriage certificates. You also have the sheriff's office. You have the some overlapping of the schools. You have the roads, the county roads. So again, zero-based budgeting is looking at all this. And again, as a commissioner who listens to the people, what is important to you? I mean, it's important to take that input from our residents and say where they want their tax money spent. Are we putting it in the right place? So that's what I want to do. I want to listen. I want to build a zero-based budget and then implement that budget according to the people's wishes. Thank you.
Okay. And lastly, Mr. Search.
Thank you. Obviously, services to the people, it's critical to people because they look at you and they say, what am I paying my tax dollars for? And as Dan pointed out, you know, between the library, health services, mental health, the DMV, the sheriff's office, and schools, there's a lot of services out there. And we need to make sure as commissioners that we are providing excellent. There's the thing about excellence. When I was in the school system, it was all about excellence. It's one thing to provide services, but are you providing them in a way that shows excellence? And that can be done. And if you do provide services like that through excellence, and you listen to what people, as Craig said, people saying, why don't we have this within the community? It's again, listening to the people and what they want and how we can possibly provide that service so people know that they're listened to, but again, that we are providing services that show we are doing it with excellence. I'm really big on doing things, not just to do them, but doing them right. Thank you.
Okay. And this will be the final question for the evening. What have you done during your campaign to meet, listen to concerns, and formulate your plans to address all the Sumter County constituents? We'll start with Mr. Miller.
I started out 9 months ago by collecting petitions for Reverse One Sumter. I was out there at the postal stations, meeting and greeting and talking to the people, talking about why we need to make changes in Sumter County and listening to their concerns. We've also attended several Zoom meetings with the people of South Sumter County to answer their questions, similar format to this, and get to know them better. That's the kind of things we've been doing. We've been out, Gary and Craig have been out working postal stations here. We're meeting and talking to people. We've been on Facebook. We've been on social media. We're doing everything we can to talk to as many people as we can and find out what they want from their commissioners, not what we're going to do for them. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Myslakowski.
Thank you, Gail. I started off at the 3 tax meetings last year. The first one was at Colony, and luckily I got there early because over 300 people could not come into the meeting to speak their piece. I thought that was, and then thereafter, they went to a larger format where people could come in. But I attended all 3. I spoke at all 3, and we voiced our concerns to the commissioners, who unfortunately did not listen to us. At the last meeting, when the final person spoke, it was a 3-hour meeting. All 3 meetings were 3 hours. And the last person spoke. They had the county administrator read the motion, and then they slammed the gavel down and said it passed. I went out and got over 965 signatures also during the process, and met a lot of people. They were very, very concerned with this 25% tax increase. They were concerned that they're not being treated fairly and they're not being listened to. So these are things I've met a lot of people in the last 6 months, and I plan to continue to meet people. I plan to be accessible to the people, and I plan to be a voice for the people. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Search.
Again, thank you, Gail. As Dan mentioned, back last fall, going to the meetings when I got up to speak, and I had no plans of speaking, but when I got up, it was not about the tax increase. It was how I saw people being treated. And I didn't think they were being treated with respect or dignity. Since that time, I went to a lot of club meetings. People knew I was in office up in Pennsylvania. They said, we need you to run. And I decided to do that after talking to many groups. I also, in the last number of months, spent an awful lot of time at every mailbox station in the villages, talking to people. As Dan mentioned, I was able to get 1,100 signatures in 3 weeks to get on the ballot. People wanted a voice. They wanted commissioners that are accessible. They wanted commissioners that are transparent. They wanted commissioners that are accessible. And they wanted to just have people saying, I may not always agree with you, but at least you listened and you heard what I said and you treated me again. And I can't overemphasize that word too much. When you treat people with respect and dignity, they at least may not agree with your decision, but they understand that you're there for them. Thank you.
And lastly, Mr. Estep.
Thank you. I started visiting, mentioned that I started visiting the southern part of the county when I declared to run in December. And I've been going to the city council meetings. I wanted to get a feel for what's going on in those incorporated cities all around the county, and get out in the rural areas and talk to the people in Center Hill and Webster and Bushnell and Wildwood, and find out what is going on in Coleman. And not only that, but I cared enough and I was interested enough to go out and meet with the mayor of Webster and tour his city. My wife and I went down and we toured everything that he had in the city, about an hour and a half or so. And I appreciate Mayor Yost doing that. And so I did the same thing in Coleman. Went out to Coleman and went out and looked at the plant that they have in town there. And we drove around the town, and the mayor showed me everything in town that he felt needed to be looked at. And I appreciated that. The concern I had when I was out there visiting with these elected officials in these towns was they told me that we hadn't seen a commissioner for 9 years. We hadn't seen a commissioner for 20 years. We don't get any attention. One of the things I'd like to see is a quarterly visit by each commissioner. Thank you.
Okay, and I just want to say to all of you who consented to appear tonight, we appreciate your taking the time to meet the voters. I just want to tell our viewers that all the candidates on the primary ballot were invited, and we thank these 4 gentlemen for taking the time to spend with us this evening and answer these questions. Just want to encourage all of our viewers to vote, either early, by mail, or on election day. That's the important thing. Make your voice heard. Go to vote411.org for all of your candidate information on local races. Thank you for attending. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Gail and Bonnie.
Thank you, Gail and Bonnie. We appreciate this.